Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with William Velez. We're going to be talking about, I think, an important area. William has had a long career in the information space. He is the chief information officer currently at Harvard Maintenance, but he's played chief information officer roles for many, many other companies and is really an expert on all of the things that we have to think about when we talk about technology and cybersecurity and really critical issues today for all areas and all businesses. And so I'm excited to get into that with you, William. But before we get there, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Absolutely. So I'm currently as you mentioned, the CIO, Chief Information Officer at Harvard Maintenance. So in charge of all the technology, operations, strategy, everything that has to do with digitizing and you hear digital transformation all the time. I think that term has been overused, but it is truly what we're doing at Harvard is digital transformation. But before that, I spent when you think about my 27 years of experience, about half of those were in management consulting, followed by 2 years of business school at Wharton, and then after that, becoming a chief information officer. So it's a kind of a good balance between the advisory consulting and then mixing that engineering background with the business degree into becoming a CIO.
Yeah, and I mean the landscape for being a CIO seems to, I would say, every day become more and more central to how a company thinks and how it has to prepare and plan for the future. Tell me a little bit of some of the key issues that you're coming across right now in your space.
Well, in the technology area, it's funny because every company nowadays says we're a technology company, right? So technology has become a centerpiece of most companies in the US and in the world. And when you think about the challenges that that brings for CIO and for CEOs in general, executive management, a lot has to do with talent, finding good talent in the US and nearshore or other options. And also internally, change. Change is hard. And sometimes some companies believe that just hiring an external company, having them build the software for them is going to solve the problem. But you also have to work internally with the stakeholders to explain why is this good and why is change good. And sometimes, depending on the company, it's very difficult to change that mindset. So I think those two are, I would say, probably the greatest challenges right now because finding people has been difficult because everyone's a technology company. And then once you're implementing change internally, it's difficult to align the culture, right? They say that, I forget who said this, culture eats strategy for breakfast. That's as true as it is today as whenever they said that a couple of years back.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's quite a key point where we think about how these topics, they were always there. People were always worried about technology and security, but it's just the magnitude of the challenges, and I'd say probably the fact that we are heavily cloud-based now, and we have these new work structures, right, as companies managing all of those new variables is a real challenge. Are there a couple that really kind of stand out to you and go, wow, these are the ones that we really as an industry have to get our heads around?
Well, hybrid or remote work, sometimes companies don't like to say work from home. They like to say
Hmm.
remote work. I think the home aspect of it still has a psychological connotation that executives don't like. But that is difficult because sometimes some companies had trouble managing their employees and having their managers be effective managers with employees in the office. It's even more challenging having effective management and managing your productivity as a company when you have a distributed workforce,
Yeah.
basically remote through Zoom, etc. So some companies, especially smaller ones that are more nimble and they've been kind of growing up with Zoom, those tend to be very agile and during the pandemic didn't have any issues adapting. Those are the companies that had a very strong in-office culture all of a sudden found themselves going hybrid. And now, who is going to tell the workers that they have to be back in the office 5 days a week when they've had a taste for a different type of life work balance? It's
Yeah.
very challenging. And there's data on both ends to say that it's beneficial to be in the office, especially for newer, younger workers. And then there's benefits for remote work, especially for certain areas like IT. I always
Yeah.
use an example. Being in the office sometimes to do code reviews is more difficult because we end up saying, you know what, I'll just go to my office and we'll do a Zoom because that way you can share the screen and look at the code, especially for my developers. Or sometimes you're looking at a prototype and you want to show that prototype on the screen. Again, it's more difficult to see it in a conference room than actually being in Zoom or using
Yeah.
Miro or some of these technologies. And so I think at the end of the day, the solution will be somewhere in the middle, where for
Yeah.
certain functions, it will be probably better to have more days in the office, and for other functions, is not going to affect. In fact, is going to improve productivity if you have a remote workforce. But I don't know. We'll see. The next 5 years will say a lot.
So, what do you think about big kind of hot button topics like cybersecurity? Are we building in the right direction to be safer, or is this just going to be one of those ones where we're always going to have to push the rock up the hill to fight the next fight?
The latter. It's always the bad guys will always be one step ahead. And because they're bad guys, they don't have the
Hmm.
same ethics and the same process that we do. Something that I think is very scary. A couple of years back, two-factor authentication was completely something no one knew about.
Yeah.
And fast forward a couple of years, everyone is forcing two-factor authentication.
Right.
Guess what? Now the bad guys have found ways to also bypass two-factor authentication. There's several
Right.
ways. And some of those we knew they were coming, but now it's gotten to a point where our security experts at every company are trying to figure out, okay, how do we stay ahead of this new wave where they're just bypassing two-factor authentication? And
Mm.
it's really interesting. So I think cybersecurity is always going to be a topic, and it's because always the weakest link, which is the human, will be the entry point for the hackers. You can have
Hmm.
the most secure firewall, you can have all the software in the world, but if an employee is not trained to follow a certain protocol and not open the beautiful bunny.exe attachment in the email,
Yeah.
you're going to have actors getting into your company. So I always like to say it's like hard drives and car tires. It's not about if, but when they're going to fail.
Yeah.
And you have to, as a company, prepare. So from an oversight perspective, thinking, board of directors have to think about how do we keep this company from getting into issues. That's where I think a lot of companies lack that oversight to understand, okay, what are the key components that we need to make sure that we're investing in? Because you might be surprised that sometimes investing in the latest and greatest software from a return of investment or bang for the buck perspective, you probably have more bang for the buck training your employees, doing fake exercises where you send fake phishing emails and teaching them how to identify those emails. That probably has a much better return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like it's gonna never end, and we're gonna always have some new hurdles to jump over. But I mean, William, clearly you've spent quite a bit of time, you built your career in this space. You've been in the C-suite of several companies, helping them manage this area. I guess really, I'd just be curious, what is it about this area that really drives you and is your passion point?
So I think we were talking at the beginning about what is it that makes you go to work every day?
It's a very American type phrase. I always say it, which is, what gets you up in the morning, right?
Why not go sailing today? Um, and I think it has to do when you're a technologist. It's about the impact that your technology products have on the business and on people, and also the people you interact with. The other day I was in a call, and a senior leader, she was telling me, this used to take my team 20 hours per week, and
Mm,
now we have this automation in place, and it's just a matter of seconds to run that automation. And to see the happiness of understanding it now, she can utilize those resources for something that adds more value to the company than having to massage data in Excel.
Yeah.
That's the time of satisfaction that makes you go to work every day and basically enjoy what you're doing, and you don't have to force yourself out of bed.
Yeah, well, I can see how you can get excited about that. It's wonderful to see when technology plays a critical role in allowing people to have more time to be more strategic and come up with better solutions for the company. But I mean, here we are, William, 2024. It's a big, big year. Lots of tech challenges and tech discussions for sure, and really thinking about how businesses evolve and grow. But what's on the docket for you and your team?
For the next, at Harvard, we're definitely working on digital transformation. That's what we're doing. It's when you think about industries like Harvard, janitorial services, building services, they're very what I call underrated industries. And for years, these industries have seen an underinvestment in technology and innovation. So it's actually really fun to come in and see this technology desert basically, and being able to advance that agenda. So for 2024, we're certainly closing in on all of these multi-year projects that we started in 2021, 2022, and we're gonna finally see fruition, finally get these tools to our users, to our clients, and that's really exciting because
Hmm.
number one, you've seen that for a long time. So sometimes executives get a little bit um, anxious when non-technology executives, you hear a lot of CEOs saying, "I know technology takes time, but I want it yesterday."
Hmm.
And that's one of the challenges where some of these projects will finally close, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So how to deliver on all these technology solutions as quickly as we can, as efficiently as we can, given resistance to change, given change management challenges,
Yeah.
talent challenges, that's usually the challenge. And I'm probably, if other CIOs are at some point watch this interview, they're going to say, "Yep, I know." That's usually what happens to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, as complicated as the technology is, it's the human factor that's probably the hardest challenge, right? Making sure that everyone's trained, everyone essentially starts to structure protocols and processes in a new way and starts to embrace it as part of the central tenet of a business. You're absolutely right. But what a great challenge you have. And as you said, it's wonderful to come from a point where you can see a company where they really had the maybe the basics, the rudimentary stuff, and now you're able to take them to a whole nother level. That's spectacular. Well, William, it's been amazing chatting with you. If someone wanted to learn more about what you are doing at Harvard, or really just in broadly as a C-suite leader in the information space and the cybersecurity space, where's the best place to find you?
Well, I have my LinkedIn page, and I've been doing a lot of social media, thanks to you guys, in some of the LinkedIn properties, like Twitter, now called X.
Mhm.
And very soon I might be opening my own website to include some additional essays and other white papers related to not only cybersecurity, but the oversight of cybersecurity technology, digital transformation, and all that good stuff. So yeah, LinkedIn will probably be the entry point for all that.
That's great. Well, I mean, William, share as much as you possibly can. I mean, people really need thought leadership in this space. This is, as you said, an always evolving, always new hurdles appearing space. And certainly your wealth of experience here is critical. We've been speaking with William Velez. We've been speaking to him about his role as a chief information officer. He's had a career really helping companies develop and transform their whole infrastructure digitally, as well as handling all of those wonderful technology challenges that get bucketed under cybersecurity. William, there's always going to be something, and it's good to know that you're out there helping these folks. So thank you so much for being on the Uncaged Show, and we look forward to having you back.
Same here. Thank you so much.